So we recently interviewed David Fraser Hidalgo. He's a Maryland state delegate. And in the interview, he talked about how during bill hearings, he loves gotcha questions.
Yeah, this is where the opponents of a bill try to catch you off guard with questions like, well, if EVs are so great, why does the government and our hardworking taxpayers have to subsidize them? Why can't they exist without our subsidies? Gotcha!
And David said he loves this kind of question because then he can talk about how much our government subsidizes the fossil fuel industry.
And it's not just the U.S. Your government, pretty much wherever you live, subsidizes the fossil fuel industry.
Yeah, this new report by Bloomberg NEF shows the G20 countries, the US, Russia, Mexico, China, India, France, Australia, UK, Italy, etc. They have subsidized the fossil fuel industry to the tune of $3.3 trillion since the Paris Accord was signed in 2015. Let me say that again. $3.3 trillion handed over to oil and gas companies.
Now you might be asking, how much is $3.3 trillion? Like, what can you buy with that much money?
Well, you could buy enough solar plants to power the entire United States of America electricity grid 3 times over.
So, I'm sorry, you just said 3 times over.
Yeah, so you could take 3 United Stateses and power them with solar power for what we've paid in the last 6 years to oil companies just as their subsidy.
Just the subsidy, not the, I went to the gas station and I filled up with the unleaded.
Just the subsidies.
Just the subsidies. Just the government's giving them money for nothing.
Now, some countries have been cutting back on their fossil fuel subsidies like Italy and Argentina. Good for you, Italy and Argentina. But other countries have been increasing their fossil fuel subsidies. I wonder which countries that could be. Could it be Australia and the US? Why, yes, it is. So the report found that 60% of the fossil fuel subsidies went to the companies producing fossil fuels, and 40% went to cutting prices for energy consumers.
Well, I mean, that's good. I mean, I like paying less at the pump, so that's good to, the subsidies are helping the little guy.
Okay. You're a taxpayer, right?
Yes.
So where do you think the fossil fuel subsidy comes from?
Oh.
Aren't you the little guy?
Well.
Huh? I thought you liked it, that the price of gas was cheaper for you.
So, but I just don't see it.
You don't see it.
So,
they did this. They took it out of your wallet while you weren't looking, and then you're like, I love getting cheap gas prices.
It's only $3 a gallon. It's good. So, so the price of gas is essentially 40% higher than everyone ever. You go to the pump, and it says, whatever it says now, which is freaking wild.
Well, I'm sorry, but go to Europe, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Where the price of gasoline is astronomical because they don't have as many of these subsidies on the actual price of gasoline. And that is a good thing, right? Because it makes it so that you're like, should I take my car today or my bike? Here in the U.S., we're like, yeah, take the car. It's so much cheaper.
Let me take the giant pickup truck. Right. Drive 30 miles to the nearest subway.
And here's the thing. In the last 6 years, if we had eliminated the subsidy and the price of gas had gone up 40%, wouldn't more people be thinking about driving an EV right now? Yes, because it's already cheaper with the subsidy to drive an EV. Imagine how much more cheap it would be if gas was 40% more expensive. Or not just gas. Think about natural gas, which a lot of people heat their houses with, or heating oil, right? All of these things would be so much more expensive. You'd be thinking of alternatives like solar on your roof.
Right. Because that, once you put the solar on the roof, is free energy.
Free energy.
Like, not subsidized free energy. It would just be free energy once you paid for whatever the panels. And
here's the thing. Over 500 organizations wrote a letter in June to the United States government demanding that these fossil fuel subsidies stop. You're seeing now the list of organizations. And if we want this subsidy to end, you're going to have to add your name to this list. You're going to have to stand up and say, enough is enough. I want my tax dollars to go to protecting my children and my grandchildren from pollution and climate crisis. Stop making gas cheap. Stop pouring money into the coffers of oil and coal companies just because they have lots of lobbyists. And by the way, why do they have lots of lobbyists? Because we're paying them to have the lobbyists. Like, it's freaking absurd.
And we could have just built, in 6 years, we could have built 3 times the solar energy production that we need. We could be exporting electricity that we get from the sun that we can produce with no pollution in the United States for free every year.
Yep. But you know what? Better to keep the wars going, right?
Yeah. Better to have certain places in the world where all the energy comes from that we need to, for some reason, build ginormous like skyscrapers in the middle of deserts for. That makes way more sense.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching Now You Know Clips.
You can watch full episodes of Tesla Time News on Mondays and in-depths on Fridays. Just click the link down below to head over to the Now You Know channel.